Hello guys, it's Mo Render. Actually, I'm Mohammed Asnaei and I'm going to introduce some features in Redshift Renderer via Cinema4d R24, and it's based for lighting and principle of lighting in Redshift. And I have a scene, as you can see, with many default materials, and I'm going to delete them because when it's imported, actually it has many default materials. I'm going to clean these tags firstly. We're going to add them later after this course, but we make sure that no errors come through when we're rendering. So it's a clean model and a great model. And here we are. Okay. I'm going to drop a plane, which is about 2000 per 3000 centimeters for this specific model as a base ground. And as you can see, I aligned the model with the surface and a little bit lower because I don't want to see the distance between the surface and the tire. Okay, and I'm going to make this plane editable. I'm going to switch on the wireframe mode. So you can see here, I'm hit the enter for 2 times and double click on one of these edges, press Ctrl and drag up or make some walls. I'm going to have a, you can say a tall wall. And I'm doing this, I should have an environment for bouncing lights in it. So I'm creating these walls for the best GI. What's GI? GI is global illumination. And you can search it. It's very simple. It means bouncing light in 3D space. We'll catch up with it later, actually. This tall is enough. And I'm going to do it again for the roof. That's okay. Control tab, back. And we have 2 ways for smoothing this plane. One is subdivision surface, which you can see in the viewport and the render. But if we don't want to see in the viewport, for saving some memories in the viewport, we can do it with Redshift tag, Redshift object. We're going to geometry, override, tessellation enabled. Nothing happened in viewport, but when you hit the render, you can see it happened in render, just in render, and this is brilliant. And we leave these 2 sides, right and left, actually, for the environment lights, such dome light, and some other lights that we can put in here, on here, for better visualization. Okay, let me say you something. Always and always, you should do the lighting before shading and materials. That's the principle of lighting. Because when you do it, you can see the lights bouncing, everything raw. And that's the best way to achieve the best lighting environment. For this goal, let me hit the render again and say you something. This is standard material, which is Redshift doing in everything without any reflection, diffuse, and shading. This is just a default light and default materials, which is gray. And this is the best things for raw lighting. I'm calling this raw lighting. I'm going to save my project and start the lighting process. For lighting process, I'm call this window, which is the place for the all lights in Redshift. Infinite light, like a sun, point light, like a point, spotlight, area light, dome light, IES, portal, and physical sun. We don't need physical sun for this. Even portal light, IES, and etc. We just use area lights, which is great, and dome light. And before dome light, I should tell you, dome light is the HDRI based. So, and it's good for reflections and, some points. So I start with one area light. I'm going to switch to normal shading mode to see better the lighting. Okay, one light here. And I'm going to do something here, which is targeting the light. And how we can do it? We simply could add a null, and on area light, right click, animation tags, target. Target object, select null. And when you rotate or move your light, it's rotating based on the target, which is great for this specific scene. So we can make sure in every place we place the light, it's toward our object. Okay. I'm going to place this light here. To place a key light with this degree, it's about 45 degrees. Because we want to characterize the render, we want to make sympathy. Let's see how it's looking. Great. Nice shadows, nice face. We let these windows to be opened. We make a camera. Going back to 4 view, I choose top view and hit the camera menu here and going to perspective. It's another perspective, different than your camera. So render is locked to the camera, and we have another viewport for observing more. And you can see he's here. This light is very good, but we need more. Based on lighting methods, I'm going to add a light. Actually, I'm cloning this with press Ctrl and drag, and I'm putting this in this way on the back, a little bit higher, larger. We're going to see the difference. What's the difference between these two? When we off this light, you can see here, here, here that we don't have efficient lights is filled by that light. But I'm going to put this a little bit higher for more scattering, these areas. And I'm going to reduce its intensity by half. Okay, let's turn it off. Okay, and turn it on. Because multiplying in lights makes some, bright areas, and I don't want that. So far, so good. We need more lights. How? You can see these areas. It's totally dark. This area is fine. Actually, a little bit less, but it's fine. We can do it later. But we need other lights. I'm going to duplicate this light too. Sorry. And drag it here, but it's too bright. A little bit narrower. Can see when our area light gets narrow or big, it affects its light. It's too important for you to know that scaling the light would affect the measurement of the light. A little bit right to fill these areas, but it's too shiny. It's too high. We can decrease the value, such like this, 25 intensity. And it looks nice. I want to get closer to the main light and a little bit smaller and a little bit exposure to it. Fine. We need to rotate our walls because the back, nothing in the back. So I'm going to rotate it. And you can see a nice bouncing light behind it. That's great. Okay. Look at this fantastic standard shader that we're lighting. I love it. Approximately all the darkness and highlights are stabilized and balanced with this method. This is great. You can see all the areas. We have some, areas that are too dark, but they are okay. We need shadows too. And you can see the shadows. We have 3 main shadows actually. This shadow is from the area light. Let me rename it A, 2, B, and C. In lighting lessons, we have 3 main lighting. First, the key light, which is the primary light, and the beauty light, which is our A. The B light here is the backlight, and this narrow light is the filler for tiny areas. It's kind of a spotlight, but it's narrow, it's on purpose for specific areas. If we rotate through our scene and see, you may see some unlighted areas like this back. And I want to make these 2. I'm going to duplicate this C and I'm calling C2 and I'm calling this C1 and placing here a little bit, and you can see it's a great one. We need to have a complex of lights that emit everywhere but balanced. If we switch to previous camera, actually it's a Control Z for the camera, and when you holding Control and Shift together and hit the Z, it's just redoing the camera, and it's a nice feature in Cinema 4D. I'm going to adjust the camera based on the front. I'm going to pull it back here, and the coordination for the rotation. Okay, so we're aligned. If you want to make some renders from this shot, we're done. But we should control the reflections too, and it's based on our lightings. So I'm going to make a decent reflection material just for lighting. I want to see the reflections, the rims, and everything like that. So I'm going to create a default material, redshift material. I'm going to make it dark, almost black, and you can see we have reflections. Assigning it firstly. I don't want to see black here, so I'm going to switch off the materials from the options. So we have it. And let's start the rendering. Okay. We have nice reflections here, 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 here. But, and here, you can see it's the effect of the backlight. It's like a rim light. Okay. And some roughness for this reflection, like, sorry, 0.2. You can see highlights reflecting on a roughness material. And for a complete matte material, you can play with these parameters to see what's better for you. Undoing. And let's see this material with the balls. Okay, nice. It's beautiful. It's totally beautiful. We need some light for these areas to get these areas more pleasant. So I'm cloning another light, and it's totally not the key light or backlight. I'm going to call it rim light because it should make some rims for me. You can see, if you know the principles of the, reflections, mirrors, everything like that, you can see how the reflection bounces through the surface. And it's beautiful. And you can design your rims, reflections in this way, and this is fantastic. Okay, I'm making it narrower because that was too big. And again, another rim light for the other side. I get used to work with the perspective view, but you can get help from top, left, from and other viewports. I'm just playing with the rim light and you can see the effect. I want to see it like here. Look at this beauty here. Okay. We have a nice rim here, here, and here. It's just like a scar. And we have a sharp reflection here. Why we have it? Because our light is aerial light and it's based on a rectangle. I don't like it because it is artificial and it, you know, kind of bad feeling. You can see the source light in your reflection. It's not a good thing. And absolutely, it's because of your backlight here, the big light. Okay. Let's start again with the rendering. I'm going to turn it off to make sure that's the one. Yes, that is. When you narrow this light, you can see the reflection gets narrow. You can narrow it, and if your light is not enough, you can put more intensity or exposure to your light. And I'm going to make this narrower, narrower, narrower. And that's nice. And because it's kind of bigger shape for the light, it's going to put more energy and more lights in it. So we're done. We don't need to put or raise the values for the parameters. That's great rim light. Okay, how many lights we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 light. And you should know that the quantity of the lights is affects the rendering time. But in this case, we're not going to render a full animation. It's just a still frame. So it's okay for us. And you can see the total time is 1 minute for progressive rendering, actually, not the bucket render. And we're going to discuss about this later. We just need to have a look at our principle of lightings. I wanna make more smoothness here. You can see the line here. It's because the placement of the edges here. I'm going to somehow resolve this area and make a better curve there. How can I do that? I'm going to turn the IPR off, save. Subdivision surface again, because I wanted to see how it's looking in the viewport. And you can see here, I'm going to turn it on for the editing for the edges. A little bit higher, a little bit higher, or far. Yeah, far makes better. And I'm going to, sorry, I'm going to resolve this. It's better. But how it looks in render. Let's check out. Fantastic. It's a great one. Okay, I'm playing with the roughness to make sure it is the reflection that I want. It's great. Off. Roughness off. And IOR. IOR is index of reflection. How our surface is bouncing the light through the surface. It's the IOR. It's default by 1.5, and I'm going to increase it. And you can see something happening in our model. When we raise this value up, the reflections gets brighter. And the aligned surfaces with the y-axis getting reflections from the ground. And how about less? More or less, before 1, is going reversed. That's fine. I'm going to make it something like 2.5 or a little bit less, 2.2. And you can play with these parameters for the rotation and anisotropic. We will discuss them later in the rendering parts, but for anisotropics, when you play with anisotropy and rotation, the lights moving through the surface. We're going to talk about this very deeply later on. I'm leaving the default values for now. And let's back to our first material. It's pure white, so you should put some gray in it. And you can see it's a decent lighting. A little bit more. Make it out. And you can test these presets for better understanding and visualization of your render. For example, glass. It's a great one. And if your lightings are perfect, any material would work. That's the key. The measurements of the lights, the volume of the lights, values, intensities, exposure, etc. You know, playing around the surface, everything would be fantastic if your principle of lightings are great. Okay, tinted glass. Beautiful. Water. It has dispersion in the water material. You can see other colors. It's because the light breaks into the material because it's water, not the glass. And it has dispersion. Plastic, shiny plastic, looks fine. Aluminium. Wow, sexy. It's like Gina, the BMW. Copper. Gold. Iron. It's just like titanium, but it's okay. Lead. Platinum. Looks nice. Jade and paper. Okay, we're going back to custom. Actually, the plastic one. And without reflection. Okay. We have another advantage of using Redshift with Cinema4d that the Redshift has a car paint material. It's designed to simulate the real car surface. I'm going to connect it with the surface output. And default is a red one. And let's see how it's gonna look. Fantastic. And you can see some features on the material that the standard material doesn't have. And we're going to discuss them later in the material section. Okay. After all these, I'm gonna add a dome light here. So I'm going to switch to my standard RS material. Okay. From Redshift menu, I'm gonna add a dome light. And in dome light attributes, you can see a texture. I'm going to browse one of my studio HDRIs. And important things. First thing first, I'm gonna off the saturation to the 0. So we don't have any color in our HDRI. And hit the render. You can't see anything. But if you switch all your others light off, and raise your exposure, you can notice it's gonna work somehow. Okay, it's about 3.5. And how about this? If you turn off your plane, what's going to be happen? Seems no difference, but I'm going to my material and make it shiny. Okay, and you can see these speculars or reflections here, 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 and here. This is the effect of the dome light and these lines. For now, turning off the plane, and you can see how it's going to work. And again, on. If I assign this material to my plane, you can see more. And how about increasing some intensity? The intensity in redshift light, meaning more power, and the exposure value make it brighter. So if I'm decreasing the exposure into nothing, you can't see anything. These two values work together. How about this? Yes. And if you rotate the dome light, it means you rotate the map. So you can choose between these lights, but I think something like this. From the left, it's going to be placed under the other lights. So I'm gonna make this area more brighter with the HDRI. Okay. And how about without reflection? you can see the difference. And I'm going to add the other lights each after each. So, reflection again. Removing from the background. And a little bit darker or diffuse to see the reflections better. And I'm going to decrease the intensity value. Again, switching off other lights. It's too dark. It's gonna work about 4, maybe more, but I'm going to put more brightness into it with the exposure. Fair enough. And now I'm getting back the saturation. As far as you know, this shader has no, much color. So you can see the colors in the reflection. But if you choose, colorful HDRIs, you can see the difference. Let me check it out. Oh, it's too brighter. So we should change the intensity and exposure to default values. And it's nicer. Okay, let's see our, it's a colorful one. And hit render again. And here you are. It has no saturation. See? That looks fantastic. And other lights and the plane. So you should see color on the surface. But why are we discussing this? Because when we add a material with diffuse map or other colorful things on the car body, on the body, these reflections are going to be mixed with the colors. So you should be cautious about adding HDRIs to your scene when you have shiny materials, because it's changed your picture by the colors or mixing with the wrong colors. So I'm going to switch the saturation off. And again, let's have a look without dome light and with the light. Looks better. If we switch to bucket render, we're gonna see this shot. I'm going to add it here by taking a snapshot and another with dome light. I want to compare these shots together with the IPR. And you see this reflection here is not good here. We're gonna fix it later. Okay. So this and this. If you set it to A and this one as B, you can handle a cutter between these two. and you can see the difference. Look at those reflections. And it's on you to how to choose a proper HDRI and playing with, many aspects of it and a proper angle. And it means dev look. Okay. I'm going to remove these and put it aside. I'm going to make it with fixed scaling. I want to render a double size. Hit the IPR in bucket render. And let's finish this phase for now. What we have done so far in this video, we did light our scene with 6 area lights, 1 dome light for filling the unlighted areas. We developed our scene based on the raw lighting method and HDRI image-based lights. In the next video, we're going to add materials and shaders and make a real one for our design. So please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave comments. I will reply all of them. Thank you for watching.